How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder. I hope you all had a very good weekend, unless you were the New York Yankees, which is what we will talk about today, as they were swept in Boston, losing all three games to the Boston Red Sox, and we are going to break that down right now. So they come off a sweep against the Kansas City Royals. Before that, they lost 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox in the Bronx. And you were kind of hoping going into this series that they would correct some things, they would have a better series, they would pitch better, and they would take the series, return the favor from what the Red Sox did to them last weekend. And that was not the case. It was worse than what happened last weekend because they did not win a game. They did pitch better, but the offense did not show up at all. And to kind of put things into perspective with how poorly the offense was, so there's a stat out there. The Yankees put up 4 runs in this series, and that is the lowest amount of runs that they've scored in a series in Fenway in over 100 years. That's incredible. So the Yankees scored 4 runs during this 3-game series. It's the least amount of runs they've scored in a series at Fenway in 103 years, to be exact. 1922 was the last time that's happened. And not only that, but the Yankees also did not run the bases well in this game either. You had at least once in every game in this series, you had someone get picked off or thrown out. On Friday, game goes to the 10th inning. Anthony Volpe's at second, tries to steal third. Originally was ruled safe, but Red Sox reviewed it, and they called him out. Then, on Saturday, you had Jason Dominguez forgetting how many outs there were, what count it was on Trent Grisham. He gets thrown out. He gets picked off when the Yankees are trying to rally late in Saturday's game. And then you had Ben Rice in no man's land getting thrown out as well when he was on second base, getting picked off. I mean, I don't get it. See, look, losses are going to happen. But the way the Yankees lost this weekend and how they played was unacceptable. They were sloppy. A couple of throwing errors by Anthony Volpe. Well, one throwing error, and he also misplayed a ball yesterday, but he made up for it. There was a double play immediately after that. I don't understand. They play the Red Sox and they just forget how to play baseball. And you see how the Red Sox are playing now. Yankees saved their season. Leave it up to the Yankees. This was an opportunity for the Yankees to completely bury the Red Sox. And now they've injected life into their season. But we will get into what transpired after yesterday's game, because the Red Sox will be going throughout the rest of their 2025 campaign without Rafael Devers. Not because he was injured or anything, but the Red Sox have had enough of him and the antics that went on this season. And after yesterday's game, he was traded. And he gave the Yankees one last parting gift because he homered. I think he had 2 homers in this series. But we'll get into that as well. But obviously, mainly I want to focus on the Yankees here to start off. But Friday's game, Yankees just couldn't get anything going. Well, like we talked about, they couldn't get anything going this whole weekend. But Friday, they could have got shut out. But you had Aaron Judge hitting a clutch home run after striking out the previous 3 times against Garrett Crochet. But he made up for it there. And it was a dramatic home run, and you saw some of the reactions on social media, particularly the one with Dylan Betances, if you know what I'm talking about, because he was live streaming during the game. It was unbelievable, and you were hoping the Yankees were going to win that. But once they go into extra innings, they're not going to win. They have the worst winning percentage of any team in Major League Baseball. in road extra inning games since 2020. They do not win in extra innings. Volpe gets thrown out. The ghost runner, it's a freebie, and you get thrown out at third base. Why? Makes no sense. It's fundamentals. It's the basic fundamentals. I don't know. It's like what we saw last year with this team, not being able to run the base as well. It just doesn't make it makes no sense why this continues to happen. But Friday's game, you had the same matchup from the previous Saturday, Ryan Yarbrough against Garrett Crochet, and both pitchers pitched a lot better. Ryan Yarbrough was effective. Garrett Crochet, he almost pitched a complete game shutout, but Judge got the best of him in the final at bat. And you were hoping that the Yankees were going to win. But, of course, the Yankees end up losing, and you're going to forget about that home run. And Judge had an awful series. I mean, I come on here every week, and we're like, another great series for Judge, another great series for Judge. He's batting over 390. He's batting in the 400s. 2 more home runs. But this was not a good series for him. He struck out, I believe, 9 times in this series. And the Yankees never led the series once. Not once. The Red Sox scored first every single time. Yankees never had a lead. Yankees were playing from behind this entire series because the bats just went quiet. Last week, we talked about how Yankees hit. It's not like they didn't. Well, the Yankees did pitch. It's not like they didn't. The offense just couldn't put up any runs. And they would start, they would come back. Judge hits the home run in the 9th inning on Friday. Saturday, they were down 4-0. Carlos Rodon against Hunter Dobbins, who once again pitches well against the Yankees. So he's been talking the talk and walk the walking. That's what he's been doing that. He's backed it up. Yankees had no answers for him. And Rodon, I mean, I'm not going to say he was bad, but, the Red Sox, they got to him. The Red Sox got to everybody. The Red Sox got to Fried a little bit yesterday, too. Devers hit the home run. They went up 1-0 early on in the game. Max Fried did battle. There was a lot of traffic on the bases, but Fried was able to maneuver through everything and get through his start without giving it. He gave the Yankees an opportunity to come back and try to, get something going, but the bats just could not get it going this series at all. But it's just, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating, and of course everybody is already, saying the sky is falling, essentially, because here we are in June. Yankees lose a series in Fenway. Not only did they lose, they get swept, and the bats went quiet. And now we're just assuming that everything is going to start falling apart, and they're going to have that summer swoon like they had last year, as some people are calling that. Because that's what happened last year. They went to Fenway, and they end up losing to the Red Sox. They lose that series, and then the summer was brutal. I'm going to try to remain optimistic that that's not going to happen. But the Red Sox came out and played with a lot of energy in this series. Running on the Yankees. I mean, also some lackadaisical urgency out on the field when, in Saturday's game, Trevor Story hits a single and, very lazy getting the ball in. And Trevor Story extends it into a double. He gets to second. That's kind of some of the stuff that we saw last year. And you could say that's a reflection on the manager. You can. But, I mean, look, you can, but at the same time, these guys are Major League Baseball players. Be aware of what's going on around you. Dominguez should know, how many strikes there are, how many outs there are. Ben Rice, what are you doing? Volpe, I feel like you should be aware, hey, we struggle in extra innings, specifically on the road. Why am I going to take a chance to steal third and risk getting thrown out, and then there's nobody on base? Because then in the bottom of the inning, all the Red Sox got to do, bunt, sack fly, whatever. Try to get the runner to third, put the ball in play, and then you lose the game that way. And that's what happened. But it's, Friday was tough. And the Yankees had opportunities. I mean, first and third, you had an opportunity to score runs. You don't get anybody in. You don't get anybody in. We have how many times have we seen that over the years, where the Yankees have a golden opportunity, bases loaded, nobody out, and you don't score. I mean, you would think that's impossible to do, but it happens. Yankees had a golden opportunity to score runs in that situation on Friday, and they didn't get anybody in. They had opportunities on Saturday, but then they start coming back late. But Friday, you had Volpe getting thrown out. They reviewed that. It gets overturned. And then on the very next at bat with DJ LeMahieu, he hits a ball down the right field line. They call it foul. But, I mean, everybody was saying, well, at least from the Yankees' perspective, they were saying it was fair because it looks like it hits the chalk of the foul territory there. And so it would have been a fair ball, but the umpires upheld it. Now, even if that is a fair ball, you're basically just putting the ghost runner back on second. And odds are the Yankees are probably not getting him in anyways. They probably strike out or, pop out, whatever. And they still don't score. But Aaron Boone was frustrated. He throws, his gum on the field, and he gets thrown out. So once again, Aaron Boone gets thrown out of the game. And then DJ LeMahieu gets thrown out. He grounds out, and then he passes the first base umpire, and he says, that was brutal. That was a brutal call. And then the umpire asked him, what did you say? And he said, that was a brutal call. So he said it again. And DJ LeMahieu gets thrown out of the game. DJ LeMahieu, who does not really speak. He's not a very outspoken guy. He gets thrown out. That was his first career ejection. I'm sorry. These umpires, I mean, really? That you're going to throw him out for that? Come on. Last year, Judge got thrown out too, which I still can't wrap my head around that, but that happened. Boone, it makes sense, right? He actually has been doing a good job not getting ejected. But he got ejected on Friday. And then, of course, the icing on the cake on Friday. They lose in walk-off fashion, the Yankees do, because once again, Carlos Narvaez, who played 6 games for the Yankees last season, he hits a walk-off single off the monster, and the Red Sox win 2-1. 2-1 they lose. So Carlos Narvaez, he's been getting some big hits against the Yankees in both series that they just played, both in the Bronx, the home run off of Rodon, and then he gets the walk-off there. And you thought maybe the Yankees were going to wiggle out of that jam that they were in. Tim Hill comes in. They just needed one more strike to push it to the 11th. Couldn't do it. They lose 2-1. Then, 4-0 for most of the game on Saturday. They get a few runs. You had back-to-back RBIs, Wells and Dominguez, right? But they could not tie that game either. They lose on Saturday. And then you had an opportunity. You had Judge coming up with guys on base in the 8th inning. He grounds into a double play. And they lose 2-0. And you know what? Got to give the Red Sox credit. They pitched Judge very well. They went after him. They made him look silly this weekend. 1 for 9 in this series, I believe. No, it's probably worse than it was worse than that. But he had 9 strikeouts in this series. But yeah, he grounded out. I think there was also another fly out. The only hit he had was the home run. Judge has been striking out a lot though lately. And I don't want to say this is the reason why, but they gave him that off day, final game against Kansas City. He comes in, he strikes out. And now all it's been is just strikeouts. And then the home run against Crochet. That's it. But you figure he's going to get out of it, right? This is not going to last. It's not going to last. It happens. I mean, you wish it didn't happen in this series because, if Judge went on a tear in this series, Yankees could have won all 3 of these games. They had an opportunity to win all 3 of these games. All 3 games were close. And going into the first series against the Red Sox, how many times you hear, oh, yeah, the Red Sox, they've struggled in 1-run games. Well, 2 out of the 3 games that they just played against the Yankees were one-run games. And who won them? The Red Sox did. Not the Yankees, the Red Sox. And the Yankees got shut out yesterday. Which, I was hoping, maybe score a run at least. They had nothing. Nothing. Not a good weekend. Not a good weekend for the Yankees. And you look at the division. I mean, this is not a cakewalk right now. I still think the Yankees are going to win the division. I still think right now they're the best team in the division. But you look right now, the lead right now in the AL East is now down to 3.5 games on the Rays. You got the Blue Jays, who actually have lost 3 in a row. They're 4.5 games back. Red Sox are 6.5 games back. They've won 5 in a row. The only game that they have lost over the last week was against the Rays in between the 2 Yankee series, and it was 10-8. 10-8 in extra innings. That's the only game they've lost. Other than that, well, also the first game against the Yankees as well. But, they're on a 5-game winning streak. You win that game, that extends, even more. They'd be on an 8-game winning streak right now. Right? Yeah. Got to second guess myself with the math there. But, yeah, they would have been on an 8-game winning streak if they would have won that game. But, yeah, they've taken 3 straight series now and a sweep. And you look at the AL East and the records that the teams have against each other, the Yankees have the worst record out of everybody. The Red Sox have the best record. They're 15-11 against the AL East this season. Rays are 10-9. Orioles are 8-8. Blue Jays are 10-12. Yankees are 8-11. And that's something they had a problem with last year, too. They were not good against the AL East. They were not good against the Red Sox. You have to be good against the teams in your division. And you don't really have that much more of an opportunity to play these teams. You don't play these teams as much like you used to, because now you play everybody else. It used to be, 19 divisional games? Now it's down to, right? It's down to 13. And the Yankees have already played 6 games against the Red Sox. And you're 1-5 against them. 1-5. And the only game that they won was the game I was in attendance with. And I'm sorry, Yankees. I'm sorry, but I can't go to every game. Unless you want to fly me out and, well, not fly me out. No. Well, or drive me out to Fenway when they go to Boston, because I'm close enough. I don't need to fly. And I'm close enough to the stadium where I don't need to fly. But if you provide me transportation and free access to the games, then, I'll go to every game and try to, motivate this team, because, they won the only game I went to against the Red Sox. I do want to go to Fenway at some point. I have not been to Fenway yet. That has to be done at some point in my life, which it will. It will. But they almost lost that game. They had a big lead in that game, and they were letting the Red Sox come back. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I don't know what else to say. Because I felt like, hey, you lost 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox in the Bronx. You just played them. Hopefully you fare better this time. They couldn't hit. They couldn't pitch the first time. They couldn't hit the second time. And it's just now, guys, the lineup just stopped hitting. And it's aggravating when you have guys struggling at the same time. Judge had a rough series. But why is it that some of these other guys can't pick up the slack? Like Austin Wells had a good series against the Royals. I mean, he did have the RBI late in the game. Like Jazz Chisholm was on a tear. And then in this series, he really didn't do anything. Paul Goldschmidt's really slowed down. Although he had a hit in the 9th inning, a double. I think it was a double off the wall, and then he scored that made it 4-3 at that point. But that was because the Yankees got 2 outs immediately after that double. Red Sox really didn't care about that run. They let Goldschmidt score basically. It's not looking good. Ben Rice is slowed down. Trent Grisham is slowed down. But I will say this, though, everybody. The Yankees are getting reinforcements back as I'm recording this tonight. Because as I'm recording this, Giancarlo Stanton has been activated. He will be playing tonight. He'll be in tonight's lineup against the Angels. They need him back. And we talked about how, things are going to be a little bit crazy now because you have all these guys that Aaron Boone's got to try to play every day, but they're all playing so well, you don't know who to sit. But Ben Rice is kind of, like we just said, Ben Rice has slowed down, Trent Grisham has slowed down. So I think, right now, Stan's going to get the bulk of the playing time. And then you're going to have Bellinger playing most of the time. Dominguez should be playing mostly every day. Judge, obviously is Judge. We don't need to really go down that. He had his off day. Next time he probably has an off day is what? September? I guess. But Stan's going to be playing for the most part. But you hope that these guys pick it up. Because we need them to. But yes, Giancarlo Stan's coming back. That's huge. Could have used him this weekend, though. Why couldn't we use him this weekend? Stan's not playing the field. He got his at-bats in the first couple games he played in. The guy is unstoppable when he plays at Fenway. He's got great numbers at Fenway. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. But, you just think back to that 2021 series where he hit the grand slam. He hit another home run in the game, the following game, and then you also, the wild. I know the Yankees lost that game, but he had 3 hits in that game. He could, if the Green Monster was like a little bit smaller, he could have had 3 home runs in that series. He had a great, or in that game. He had a great wild card game, and he's really one of the Yankees' only sources of offense in that game because they couldn't do anything. But. Yeah, I know I'm saying that. No likelihood Stan probably wouldn't have done that great just because he's just coming back off the IL. But, yeah, it just, I would have liked to have seen him this weekend. Because the way the Yankees lineup has been, come on. You got to try something, right? But that didn't happen. But he will be back, and he'll be getting a huge ovation, I would imagine, when he steps up to the plate for the first time. Because, again, he deserves it. He was the best player in the postseason last year. He was. I know you could make an argument for some other player that's no longer with the team, but it was Stanton. It was Stanton. Wish it was Judge, but it was Stanton. The Red Sox. Red Sox fans, whoever's watching, or listening. You can also listen to us too. You got us. You got us this weekend. You did good. You did good. And the other thing too is, you got these young players that are coming up. Trevor Story's starting to hit. Garrett Crochet, another great outing from him. Made up for last weekend. The Red Sox, their season is back on. It's back on. It is. Yankees gave them new life. But having said that, the Yankees did breathe new life into their arch rivals. Even though I claim the rivalry is, dead for now. But it's frustrating losing to Boston. Did not enjoy this weekend. I feel like taking all this stuff down behind me. All these pictures and everything down because of this. No, not really. But having said all that, let's get into what happened after the game. Now, I wish this would have happened before the series. Now, it really wouldn't have made the difference because the Yankees would have lost 1-0 yesterday instead of 2-0 because Devers homered. But I couldn't believe this. So the Red Sox, after they sweep the Yankees, they traded Rafael Devers to the San Francisco Giants in exchange for 4 players, 3 pitchers, Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, Jose Bello, all pitchers, and then minor league outfielder James Tibbs III. Now, they immediately sent down Harrison. They optioned him to AAA. But Devers is gone. Devers is gone. And I'm very happy about this because Rafael Devers was a Yankee killer. Ever since that home run off of Aroldis Chapman in 2017, this guy has tormented the Yankees. He's tormented Garrett Cole. So, you could say one of the positives for Garrett Cole being hurt was, Rafael Devers wouldn't, hit him so hard like he always does. And if you remember last year, Garrett Cole intentionally walked him. He held up the four fingers to walk Devers, and he got killed for that. But Devers finishes his Red Sox tenure against the Yankees. 270 batting average, 120 hits, 31 homers, 78 RBIs, 79 runs scored in 119 games against the Yanks. So, and what's even better is he's not with the Red Sox anymore. But if you remember, the Yankees already played the Giants, so they don't have to deal with him for the rest of the regular season. They don't have to deal with him at all, unless by some way the Yankees play the Giants in the World Series, which is not happening. It's not happening. But if there was a chance that it does happen, that's how Devers would be going up against the Yankees again. So the Red Sox trade Devers. They get a few pitchers. They get a minor league outfielder. Look, the Red Sox had enough of Devers with everything that went on before the season, signing Alex Bregman, and then, he was not happy with them asking him to switch positions over and over between third base, first base, DH. And then you kind of saw, even in the series against the Yankees in the Bronx, where Cora made that weird face after Devers returned to the dugout, because Devers looked like he hurt himself, and when he came back to the dugout, he had that brief interaction with Cora, and then you saw Cora make a weird face. I mean, it's been a lot going on behind the scenes. And I think that Devers, he met with the Red Sox, and, I think he loves Boston, but I think he just didn't like how he was being treated by the team. So it was bound to happen. And the Red Sox, I guess, just had enough with him and the antics, and they just said, you know what? We're trading you. We're getting out of this contract. Giants are going to be paying I think pretty much all that's remaining of this contract. He signed a 10-year extension 2 years ago, and he's gone. He's gone now. And now, you got the young guys up here, Christian Campbell, Roman Anthony, who just got brought up recently, and Alex Bregman's going to come back and play third base. So, the Red Sox were just like, we're going to get out of this. We're getting out of this now. You know what? We just beat up on the Yankees. We're going to get rid of you now. But honestly, though, you go back to a couple of years ago, and, the Red Sox fan base has just been frustrated, and they're frustrated with this. I mean, you're seeing it all over social media, and how could you blame them? Really? This even goes back to when they traded Mookie Betts. You traded Mookie Betts, right? And the Yankees had a lot of the players involved in that trade. I think the only player that they didn't have in that trade was Connor Wong. But they got Jeter Downs. They had him, playing in spring training. You had Verdugo. I'm trying to remember the other. I think there was another player that was involved. But either way, you trade Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. You let Xander Bogaerts walk and go to the Padres. Andrew Benintendi hasn't been on the team for quite some time. Chris Sale, they ended up trading to the Braves. They didn't get a lot back for him. And now you trade Rafael Devers. At least when the Red Sox extended Rafael Devers, it was all right, they kept at least somebody to be the face of the franchise from that 2018 team. And now he's gone. They trade him. They extended him, and they traded him. And it's what are the Red Sox doing? And I get it. He was a head case. But he's one of the faces of the team. He's the face of the team. And on top of that, your season, like we just talked about this, their season is back on. You're coming off of a very good week against your division rivals, against the Yankees, against the Rays. You're looking good right now. You're going to get Alex Bregman back. And if you make a couple moves at the trade deadline, you play your cards right, you can make some serious noise in this American League. And the Red Sox, they have a good offense. They score a lot of runs. They got about like 20 less runs than the Yankees, and the Yankees are like, one of the top offenses in all offensive categories. The Red Sox are a good offensive team. It's just their pitching has not been good. But you decide, all right, we're just going to get rid of Devers. We're going to punt. This is like a punt move. Now, the Red Sox do need pitching, right? So, but the pitchers they got, they already sent one of them down. And Jordan Hicks, I think he has like a 6+ ERA this year. So, but maybe, when he pitches against the Yankees, he'll probably pitch well. I can't say that, like, the Red Sox won this trade. You could say, like, from a financial standpoint, this is good because you get that money off the payroll, and that gives you, more flexibility. But for right now, you got to love this trade for the Giants. And the Giants, how many times have they struck out trying to bring in big-name free agents? Mainly Aaron Judge. They wanted Aaron Judge. And, news broke that Arson Judge was going to the Giants. And Yankee fans, including myself, just sat there going, Aaron Judge is not going to be a Yankee, even though it said Arson. But that ended up not being true, and Judge went back to the Yankees. And then they were also in on Correa. I think they signed him, but then, the stuff with his medicals, and similar with what happened with the Mets. And then they ended up not signing him, which ended up being good, a smart move for them anyways. But now they finally get their guy. They get Rafael Devers, who is probably going to be their DH. Will play some third. Matt Chapman, I believe, is hurt right now. But, that's a good bat to have in the lineup now. The Giants are really going for it. Buster Posey's kind of taking over that front office. This was a big move for them, and I like this move a lot for them. And look at their division. Look at the division. You got the Dodgers. You got the Padres you got to deal with. The Diamondbacks, they're hovering around 500. And the injury news to Corbin Burns, he's going to get Tommy John surgery. That's a tough break for them. Now you can't really kill the Orioles for not re-signing him because, this ended up happening. But they could have did more with their pitching, with how poorly their pitching's been this year. But that's a really good division. And the Giants right now, I think they're 41-30. So they're in a good spot. And now you just really improved your lineup by getting Devers. But yeah, for the Red Sox, we'll see how it works out. We'll see how these players work out if they end up leading to anything. But, this is kind of like the Mookie Betts trade 2.0. It is. Because you basically just dumped a player, an iconic figure on your team, because you don't want to pay him, or you just have had enough of him. And I guess I was wrong, because I really thought that Devers was going to, fall in line and do what he was asked. I thought that they would figure it out, and they would move on from all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes with his displeasure of being moved around constantly. But that was not the case. They were done. They were done. But again, look, from a non-Yankee fan standpoint, what are the Red Sox doing? And the Red Sox fans have every right to be outraged. But from a Yankee fan standpoint, this is a great day. This was a great day. Never have to see him again in the AL East. Him, Mookie Betts, and Xander Bogaerts, all out in the NL West. Good. Far away from New York as possible. We don't have to see that. Well, we've seen him this year. Saw Mookie in the World Series. But, when it comes to winning the division and getting into the playoffs, they don't really play a factor. We don't have to see them. But, that doesn't mean that, Christian Campbell and Roman Anthony, all these guys, they could step in and say, we'll, we'll take over for them. Because, Christian Campbell hit the 2-run homer to tie the game in the final game in the Bronx. Roman Anthony really didn't do that much in this series. But, Trevor Story did. Narvaez did. Red Sox got a lot of ex-Yankees on that team. Justin Wilson, he pitched well against the Yankees over the weekend. Narvaez doing damage. Rob Refsnyder, getting hits off of Rodon and Fried. Yeah. No, the former Yankees, they kind of made their presence felt so far. But, just hearing, I think it was Joe Davis. Yeah, it was Joe Davis on Saturday. And again, Yankees on Fox this year, the nationally televised games. Every time Joe Davis is doing the game, the Yankees just don't win. They don't win. They're 0-3. The 2 games against the Dodgers or the 1 game against the Dodgers, the 18-2 loss, and the 2 middle games against the Red Sox, they're 0-3. So picking up right where we left off when Joe Davis calls the game. And I don't want to rag on Joe Davis because Joe Davis does a very good job, but they don't do good when he calls games. I think he's taken over for Brian Anderson because for the longest time, the Yankees never won a playoff series when Brian Anderson calls the games. And then they finally won it in Cleveland to go to the World Series. So I think Joe Davis is kind of, taking Brian Anderson's spot. Because now, when the Yankees make the playoffs and Joe Davis is calling their games, got to be a little worried. Got to be a little worried because they could end up losing that series. But that's way down the line. So, there was good news and bad news. Good and bad from this series. But the good happened after the series. Well, 2 things happened. One, the series just ended. That was good. Just that, get us out of here. Let them get back home. And then the other thing was Rafael Devers will no longer be in this division. And the Red Sox fans are up in arms. So, look, I don't get it. Because the Red Sox are a big market team. And they were in on Juan Soto. Why are you... I don't get it. I don't get it. And again, how far they have come since 2018. They had one of the greatest teams in my lifetime. You could probably say... look, I haven't been around for 100 years, but... that's one of the greatest teams that you'll probably ever see is the 2018 Red Sox team. And how far that team fell since then. Because, there's no more Mookie Betts, no more Xander Bogaerts. Chris Sale they traded. Craig Kimbrell just fell apart. Steve Pearce had a postseason for the ages. Really, well, was it postseason or World Series? Because he won World Series MVP, right? Yeah, J.D. Martinez. That was the best signing of the offseason. Was J.D. Martinez for the Red Sox that year. Benintendi, Jackie Bradley Jr., Nathan Eovaldi. That team was really good. It was really good. And now, Devers, I think he was the last piece. Other than Alex Cora, and I guess some of the guys on the coaching staff, that's it. But I think at the Red Sox they got some young guys to be excited about until they don't want to pay them and get rid of them. So we'll see. But yeah, Rafael Devers, no longer a Boston Red Sox. He is now a San Francisco Giant. Thank you to the Red Sox and the Giants for getting this trade done. Never have to see him in the AL East. Unless the Yankees want to say, hey, we'll take him. Play third base, lefty bat. Why not? I'd do it. I'd take Devers down. But the contract is just... Look, the Yankees are going to be out from Giancarlo Stanton's contract in a couple of years. Aaron Judge, obviously, you still have that contract on the books, but, who cares? It's Judge. But Stan's a contract, the Yankees want to get off the books. The Rodon contract so far, it wasn't looking good in the beginning. Definitely looks better now, but could be bad towards the end. Max Fried looks great right now, but again, this is the first year of 8, and once we get further and further into that contract, it's not going to age well. But yeah, no, I don't think the Yankees want to take on that contract. They're not. They don't want to take that on and have to pay that. And Devers has a lot of deferred money too on his contract too. I think it's between like the years 2034 and 2043. I think when I was looking at it, um, that's where the deferred money comes into play. So I'll be getting that once he's done playing. But yeah, look, I would take Devers, but it's not going to happen. And the Yankees got George Lombard Jr. coming up at some point. Don't forget that. But yeah, everybody, it was not a great weekend for the Yankees. I've said it over and over again. Don't let it snowball. Just don't. But I'm getting a little nervous that it could snowball. Now, they do play the Angels. Now, the Angels are kind of hovering around 500. They're not an awful team this year. But and this is a 4-game set. Yankees should take 3 out of 4 at home. They should beat the Angels, and then you take on the Orioles this weekend. And the Orioles beat the Yankees 2 out of 3 at Camden Yards. So, but it's just, these are the kind of series, though, you look at them and you say, yeah, I mean, the other team played with more energy. The Yankees just look very sluggish. Not a lot of energy, making bad plays, base running, striking out a lot. Come back from this. But you're going to have everybody saying, if they win, if they go and they have this really good series and they win 3 out of 4 against the Angels, they're going to say, well, you just can't beat the Red Sox. Can't beat the Dodgers. You're a fraud team. Again, the fraud argument comes into play. This team is not fraudulent. And what is the definition of frauds, by the way? What is it? What are they? Are they? I mean, to me, they're a playoff team. They can go to the championship series. Could they get to the World Series? Sure. But I don't look at them and say, yeah, this team's going to win the World Series this year. No. You got to prove it to me in the playoffs. But I think this team's good. I think this team's going to make the playoffs. If this team misses out on the playoffs and they have, a collapse for the ages, and they miss out, then I'll say, yeah, they were frauds. But they're not frauds. Everybody goes through this. It's annoying. It's aggravating. But that's part of the baseball season. They go through this every year. I wish they didn't. But they go through this every year. And they'll come back from this. They pitched a lot better in this series. It's just the bats went quiet. Yarborough pitched good. Rodon he was a mixed bag. Fried, look, that game could have been a lot uglier yesterday, but he kept it close. And he unfortunately had to pick up the loss in that game. But Yankees are going to be okay. They're going to be okay. Stan's coming back tonight. Let's look forward to that. And hopefully, Judge can get it going again. This offense can get it going again. But this Yankees team is still good. I still believe that. They're still in first place. Although the gap is getting smaller and smaller. How many more times am I going to say that? And look at what happened over the weekend to cross down to the Mets. The Mets also got swept. New York baseball had a rough weekend. Mets got swept by the Rays. Yankees get swept by the Red Sox. Yankee fans are rooting for the Mets to win. You should be rooting for the Mets to win because the Rays are right behind the Yankees, and the Mets couldn't do anything. They got swept. So, yeah, rough weekend for New York baseball as well. But, hey, better days are ahead, everybody. Got to relax. Everything's going to be okay. They're going to figure it out. Got to turn the page. But the next time you come back to this page and you take on the Red Sox, you better win the series. I'm tired of losing to them. Why is it that they forgot how to play baseball this weekend? They forgot how to play baseball this weekend. What is it that you see Fenway Park and you're like, all right, we're done. Like, what happened? But when they come back to the Red Sox, when they play them again, you better win the series. I'm tired of it. Tired of it. So, yeah, that is pretty much it. Actually, also, some other baseball news. Shohei Ohtani is going to pitch tonight. How about that? Hasn't pitched in 2 years. I think he's going to pitch 1 or 2 innings tonight, I was seeing. I don't know how accurate that is. But that's something I definitely want to pay attention to. Because it's been a while. It's been a while. And the Dodgers right now, they're dealing with a lot of injuries to their pitching staff. I saw something. Dave Roberts was saying that they're planning life without Roki Sasaki for potentially the rest of the year. Their rookie phenom, although he wasn't pitching very well before he got hurt. So, yeah, they might not have Sasaki. Yamamoto got roughed up in the series against the Dodgers. Kershaw actually pitched well over the weekend, so that was nice. That was good to see that. But yeah, they're dealing with a ton of injuries right now. Glasnow and Snell are still not back yet. So once again, like last year, the Dodgers are dealing with injuries to their pitching staff. So they'll probably go out and trade for a bunch of pitchers. Maybe they'll trade for Jack Flaherty again. No, the Tigers are not trading him. No, Tigers are looking good. They're not yet. Jack Flaherty's not going anywhere. But yeah, so we'll see Ohtani on the mound. We'll see how he looks. But yeah, let me know what you guys think though about this series with the Red Sox. Back to the Yankees, the series with the Red Sox. It was not good. There was nothing. Other than you could say the pitching was better. They couldn't hit. They forgot how to run the bases. There were ejections. It was bad. It was bad. But hey, Devers got traded. Devers, listen. You were good for the Red Sox, but now go tear it up out in San Francisco. Go hit some hit some homers into the water. All right, out there by the bay. But yeah, so Devers is no longer a Red Sox. Yankees get swept by the Red Sox. They begin a 4-game series with the Angels tonight. I think who's starting tonight? I think Clark Schmidt's getting the ball tonight. Yes. Clark Schmidt's going for the Yankees. You got Will Warren in this series, Yarborough, and then Rodon will pitch the final game. That is a 1:05 start on Thursday. And on Friday, I'll be going to Philly for the weekend. Be seeing the Mets against the Phillies on Saturday. I think Griffin Canning's getting the start. And actually, he hasn't been good as a lead for the Mets. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. But I will be there for that game. So expect some some shorts on the page. I'll be at Citizens Bank Park, so that'll be the first time, a non-New York stadium that I will be in for the first time. So that'll be fun. Looking forward to that. Well, when it comes to baseball, but yeah, that is pretty much it. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the video. Subscribe to the channel wherever you get your podcasts. Also, you can listen to us as well on Spotify. The link is in the description. In case you missed any, want to listen to the other episodes as well, you can do that. And follow us on TikTok as well. That is also in the link. And the Instagram, I'm in the process of getting that up and going. Start posting stuff on there as well. So yeah. Again, hope everybody had a good weekend. Unless you were a Yankee fan, or unless you really don't care, or unless you're a Red Sox fan, you probably had a great weekend until Devers got traded. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So as always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.